Tonight, as you prepare to rest, I invite you to remember a sacred truth, that your imagination is not a fantasy, but the very creative force of the universe. What you impress upon your mind in those quiet, drifting moments before sleep holds the power to shape your waking world. The secret lies not in striving, but in surrendering your desire to the felt reality of it already being fulfilled. You do not beg the universe, you do not plead, you do not ask as one who is uncertain. You assume the end, you sink into it. As your body relaxes into stillness, allow your mind to rise in vision. See only what you would see if your wish were already granted. Hear what you would hear. Feel what you would feel. The key is the feeling. You must move beyond the words of the desire and live from the state of its fulfillment. This is not a doing, but a becoming. In the quiet of the night, you slip into the skin of the one who already has what they want. You do not ask, will it come? You do not say, I hope. You say, it is done. Your dream becomes the reality in which you now dwell. Your senses in imagination are more real than the senses of the outer world. That is the gateway to creation. You speak not to an outside force, but to the deepest self within, the one who knows no lack, no time, no impossibility. You commune with this self by embodying your desire in the silence. Just before sleep, when the walls between the conscious and the subconscious are thinnest, you plant the seed. And you do so by imagining the scene that would naturally follow the realization of your desire. Do not concern yourself with how it will unfold. That is not your role. Your work is to feel the scene so vividly, so naturally, that it becomes more than thought. It becomes experience. And once you have felt it real, you let go. You drift into sleep not with longing, but with satisfaction. The satisfied mind is the fertile soil for the miracle. So when you lie down tonight, remember this power. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Occupy that state. Rest in it. Trust it. And know that as you sleep, the unseen forces are rearranging themselves to reflect your inner assumption. What you accept as true in that sacred space between waking and sleep, that is what you will call reality. And as you lie in that sacred stillness, let go of the world around you. Let go of the facts, the figures, the appearances that may seem to contradict your desire. Those are but shadows, echoes of old thoughts that no longer serve you. Do not be fooled by them. The outer world is a mirror, not a master. It reflects only what has been accepted within. So tonight, turn inward. The moment before sleep is your most sacred doorway. It is the altar of creation where thought becomes form, where feeling becomes fact. In this gentle descent into slumber, you hold the brush with which your reality is painted. Every image you impress upon your mind is a command to the universe, every emotion a decree. So choose wisely what you carry with you into sleep. If you carry doubt, it will echo back to you in waking life. If you carry peace, you will wake to harmony. If you carry gratitude, the world will bow to you with blessings. You are not asking life to give you what you want. You are instructing it through the language of feeling. The universe does not hear words, it feels vibration. So tonight, before your eyes grow heavy, sink into the frequency of already having. Feel the warmth of it, the wholeness, the ease. Let your breath slow until your whole being vibrates in rhythm with your desire. You are not waiting for anything to come. You are resting in what already is. This is the sacred practice, the art of assuming the end. Do not wait for proof. Proof is born of faith. Faith is not hoping that something will happen. It is knowing that it already has. As you lie there, whisper softly to yourself, it is done. Not as an affirmation to convince, but as a declaration from truth. You are the creator of your inner world, and your inner world shapes all that is seen. Feel the gentle peace that comes when you no longer chase, when you no longer grasp. This is creation in its purest form, effortless, natural, inevitable. And as your body sinks deeper into stillness, your imagination rises higher into the unseen. Between those worlds, the magic happens. This moment is not small, it is not ordinary, it is holy. It is the bridge between the seen and unseen, between the dream and its fulfillment. You are standing at the threshold of infinite potential, and the key to unlock it lies in a single feeling, the feeling of already being. So breathe deeply now. Feel the weight of the day melt away. Let every thought that does not serve you fade into the background. Let every worry dissolve. There is nothing more to ask for, nothing more to seek. What you desire is already yours. You have spoken the silent language of creation, feeling, and the universe has already answered. And as you drift into sleep, remember, you are not falling asleep to escape the world. You are falling asleep to recreate it. As you drift deeper into the quiet, something begins to unfold within you, a gentle remembering, a recognition that what you imagine tonight is not a mere dream, but a blueprint. Every scene you create, every emotion you allow yourself to feel, is a silent instruction to the unseen forces that shape your world. There is nothing mystical about it. It is law, the same law that governs the rising of the sun, the pull of gravity, the movement of the tides. What you assume to be true within must, in time, reveal itself without. In this space between wakefulness and sleep, your conscious mind softens, and the subconscious, vast, limitless, obedient, takes over. It does not question, it does not argue. It simply accepts whatever impression you offer to it. That is why this moment is so powerful. The mind you carry into sleep becomes the architect of your tomorrow. The emotions you feel before you close your eyes are the foundation upon which your reality will be built. And so, if you enter sleep feeling lack, the subconscious will create experiences to confirm that lack. But if you enter sleep feeling whole, fulfilled, abundant, it will weave that wholeness into the pattern of your life. This is why Neville Goddard said that the feeling of the wish fulfilled is the secret. Because feeling is the bridge between imagination and creation. Thought alone is weak, but thought infused with emotion becomes alive. It carries weight, it has direction. So tonight, you must ask yourself, what am I feeling? Not what do I want, but what am I embodying? Because the universe responds not to your wishes, but to your state of being. If your state is that of desire, you are affirming that you do not yet have. But if your state is that of fulfillment, you are declaring that it is already done. And the universe, which mirrors perfectly the inner condition, will return to you a life that reflects that conviction. It may seem subtle at first, a conversation that opens an unexpected door, a coincidence that feels too precise to be chance, a quiet shift in the way people respond to you, but these are not random. They are echoes of the assumption you have impressed upon your subconscious. They are confirmations that your inner world is reshaping the outer. This is why faith is not an act of blind belief, but a state of knowing. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are not pretending. You are stepping into the truest version of yourself, the one who already lives the outcome. And when you live as that version long enough, your outer circumstances will have no choice but to catch up. Imagine now, before you sleep, that your desire is already complete. If it were, how would you feel in this moment? What small shift would occur in your breath, your posture, your heart? Would you feel relief, gratitude, calm, certainty? Would your mind finally rest? Let that be your entry point. Let that emotion become your home. Because this is not about forcing belief or fighting doubt. It is about relaxing into a state of alignment so natural that it no longer feels like effort. When you stop trying to make something happen and instead allow yourself to feel it as already done, you dissolve the distance between wanting and having. You bridge the gap between now and then. This is where many lose their way. They try too hard. They repeat affirmations like mantras, but without conviction. They visualize with anxiety, not peace. They seek to convince themselves rather than to remember what is already true. Creation does not happen through struggle. It happens through surrender. When you stop demanding and start assuming, when you stop chasing and start being, everything changes. Tonight, as you rest, you are not a seeker. You are the creator remembering their power. You are the dreamer who dreams awake. You do not have to know how it will unfold. That is not your work. The mechanics of manifestation belong to the unseen, to the deeper intelligence that governs all life. Your only task is to hold the feeling of fulfillment long enough, steady enough, deeply enough, until it becomes second nature. And when it does, when the feeling becomes familiar, natural, effortless, that is when reality must shift. Not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it. The outer world is loyal to your inner conviction. It cannot betray it. So, as your breathing slows and your thoughts begin to drift, imagine this: the scene that would naturally follow your desire fulfilled. Not the moment of receiving it, but the moment after. The calm, the peace, the quiet satisfaction. Perhaps it's the sound of your own laughter. Perhaps it's the look in someone's eyes. Perhaps it's the simple, undeniable knowing that life has finally fallen into place. Let that image live within you. Let it become your last thought before sleep. Because when you wake, the world will already be moving to meet it. The phone call, the message, the opportunity, the idea, they will come. Not by magic, but by law. You have impressed the seed upon the soil of consciousness, and the harvest cannot be denied. So rest now, knowing that your work is done. You have planted the image. You have felt it real. You have spoken to the universe in its only true language, emotion. The unseen has already responded. And while you sleep, everything you have assumed will begin to take shape in the quiet, invisible order of things. There is a moment, subtle and quiet, when the mind begins to surrender to the rhythm of night. The body grows heavy, the breath deepens, and between one thought and the next, a small door opens. This is the threshold between the conscious and the subconscious, the place where imagination becomes command. Few ever realize how sacred this moment truly is. They drift into sleep carrying the noise of the day, the burdens of the world, unaware that they are carrying seeds that will bloom by morning. But those who understand the law know better. They know that sleep is not an escape. It is participation in creation. In this half-light between waking and dreaming, your conscious mind, the guard at the gate, finally loosens its grip. The constant questioning, the doubting, the measuring of possibilities all fade into stillness. What remains is the infinite obedient realm of the subconscious, ready to receive whatever you impress upon it. It does not distinguish truth from fiction, past from future. It only knows the language of feeling. It accepts whatever image is charged with emotion as fact. And once it accepts, it creates. That is its nature. Most people spend their nights reinforcing the same realities they wish to escape. They replay arguments, imagine failures, relive fears. They drift to sleep in the vibration of worry and awaken to the evidence of it. But you tonight will do differently. You will not let the past command your future. You will take hold of this moment as the artist takes hold of a blank canvas and paint the world you wish to see. So as you lie in silence, release everything that is not in harmony with your desire. The disappointments, the doubts, the stories that whisper not yet, let them dissolve. None of them are real. They are merely echoes of a former state, the remnants of an identity you have already outgrown. The truth is simpler. What you feel now is what you are creating. There is no delay, no waiting period, no cosmic bureaucracy. The universe moves in perfect response to your assumption. If you can feel it as done, it is done. This is the great paradox that defies logic but never fails in practice. The outer world, slow and dense as it may seem, is only the shadow of the inner. Change the inner state, and in time, the shadow must follow. It cannot resist. So, what does it mean to change your inner state? It is not about forcing new thoughts or fighting old ones. It is not about convincing yourself through repetition or denying the facts before you. It is simply about choosing to live from the end, from the place where your desire has already been fulfilled. You must feel now what you expect to feel then. This single act shifts everything. Think of it like tuning a radio. Each emotion is a frequency. When you tune yourself to the vibration of joy, joy must come. When you dwell in gratitude, life brings you more to be grateful for. But if you tune to worry or doubt, the static of resistance fills your days. There is no punishment in this law. There is only precision. The universe echoes whatever you broadcast. So, lie still and ask yourself quietly, if it were already done, how would I feel? What would peace feel like in my body? What would success sound like in my thoughts? What would love look like in my world? And as these sensations rise within you, do not rush them. Let them grow. Let them fill every corner of your awareness until the outer world fades and only the inner remains. This is the beginning of creation, not in words but in experience. Words are tools, feelings are power. When the feeling becomes dominant, the unseen begins to move. Events align, paths open, faces reappear, doors swing wide. But it all begins here, in the quiet knowing that what you have imagined is more than imagination. It is instruction. The greatest act of faith is to rest, as if everything were already accomplished. Not to strive for it, not to chase it, but to rest. Because rest is trust. The one who knows the outcome does not worry about the unfolding. They simply allow it to come in its own perfect rhythm. And when you learn to rest in that knowing, something extraordinary happens. The tension you once carried dissolves. The need to prove, to force, to explain, it all fades. You begin to move through life with an ease that others mistake for luck. They see the results but not the cause. They call it coincidence, but you know it as law. You know that long before the manifestation appeared, it was finished in imagination. This is why Neville taught that creation is finished. Every possibility already exists. You do not create from nothing. You select from the infinite. When you assume a state, you are simply choosing which version of reality you will experience. And once you choose, once you dwell there in imagination and feel it real, the universe rearranges itself to match your decision. So tonight, choose deliberately. Do not drift into sleep as a spectator of your life. Become its author. Close your eyes and build the scene that follows your fulfillment. The moment after the wish has been granted. Hear the laughter, the relief, the calm confidence. See the faces that surround you. Feel the warmth of gratitude rising through your chest. Let it be so vivid that it feels inevitable. And when that feeling settles into you, when it feels so natural that it almost seems ordinary, then let go. Let the subconscious take over. Do not try to hold it. Do not question whether it worked. Simply rest in the certainty that the seed has been planted. The subconscious will not fail to bring forth what has been sown. This is the rhythm of manifestation. Intention, assumption, surrender. You plant the seed, feel it real, and release it to the soil of the unseen. The gardener does not dig up the seed to check for growth. He trusts that the process is unfolding beneath the surface. So too must you trust. The how and when are not your concern. Your only task is to keep your inner garden clear of doubt and alive with faith. When you understand this, every night becomes sacred. Every sleep becomes an act of creation. You will begin to look forward to the silence, to the stillness, to that golden space where imagination speaks to the infinite. Because you will know that in those quiet moments, you are shaping worlds. There is a quiet intelligence that moves through everything. You can feel it when you stop thinking for a moment. A soft awareness that lives underneath the noise, a still current carrying all things toward order. It is the same intelligence that turns the seed into a tree, the embryo into a child, the night into dawn. You are not separate from it. You are it. What you call imagination is this same intelligence acting consciously through you. When you imagine, you are not creating from nothing. You are directing an infinite creative force that already knows the way. This is why imagination is not fantasy. It is memory from a higher dimension. A glimpse of what already exists in potential. When you close your eyes and feel yourself living your desire, you are not inventing that reality. You are selecting it. You are shifting awareness from one possibility to another. Everything you could ever wish for already is. The moment you feel it real, you have claimed it. But most people do not trust this. They look outside for signs, proof, reassurance. They measure what they see and call it real, forgetting that what they see is only the residue of former thinking. The world is always lagging behind your imagination, echoing your past assumptions. By the time something appears in form, it has already been accepted within. So, when you fix your attention on appearances, you are always reacting to an old reflection. True creation begins when you turn away from the mirror and focus on the source, your inner state. If you can understand this, you will no longer chase results. You will not plead with the universe for evidence, because you will know that the evidence must come. It cannot do otherwise. The law is absolute. The outer world is a servant, not a master. It obeys the command of your assumption with perfect fidelity. To live by this truth requires a quiet courage, the courage to remain loyal to your vision even when nothing seems to move. That loyalty is the measure of faith. Faith is not loud. It does not shout affirmations into the void. Faith is silent. It is the quiet conviction that what you have felt is already done, even when the senses deny it. There will be moments when doubt creeps in, whispering that nothing has changed, that you are foolish to believe. In those moments, do not fight it. Fighting doubt only feeds it. Instead, return to stillness. Breathe. Remember that imagination is cause, not effect. The world cannot resist a sustained assumption. When you hold the end long enough, reality must bend to meet it. This is why persistence matters. Not a struggle, but a steadiness. Every time you return to the feeling of fulfillment, you are watering the seed. You are strengthening the new pattern within your subconscious. The subconscious does not respond to intensity. It responds to constancy. What you repeatedly feel becomes what you automatically expect, and what you expect becomes what you experience. Think of a sculptor shaping stone. Each stroke of the chisel seems small, insignificant, but over time the form emerges. So it is with your inner work. Each night you fall asleep in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you carve a new self-image. You may not see the progress at first, but beneath the surface, form is taking shape. One morning, you will wake and realize that the world around you has quietly rearranged itself to match the person you have become. The law does not fail, only our faith wavers. The moment you decide that your inner world is the true reality, life becomes astonishingly simple. You stop waiting, you stop chasing, you stop needing signs, because you realize that you are the sign. Your feeling is the evidence. When you feel it real, you have already received it. But this truth demands discipline. Not the harsh discipline of force, but the gentle discipline of attention. Where you place your attention, you place your life. Every thought you dwell upon is a seed, every emotion a command. If you would change your experience, you must first change the atmosphere of your mind. Begin with gratitude, not as a ritual, but as a recognition of abundance already present. Gratitude softens resistance. It opens the heart to receive. Feel thankful not for what is coming, but for what already is. Gratitude is the bridge between desire and fulfillment. It dissolves the illusion of lack and reminds you that you are already complete. Then move into the feeling of fulfillment. Let it saturate you. If it helps, imagine a simple scene that implies your wish is realized. A conversation, a letter, a familiar environment. Something ordinary, yet conclusive. Enter that scene as though it were happening now. Hear the sounds, feel the texture of the air, sense the quiet certainty in your chest. It should feel natural, not forced. When it feels ordinary, you know the impression is made. The extraordinary always begins as the ordinary made real within. And when you have reached that point, let it go. You do not need to hold it all night. The impression has been made. The subconscious will carry it forward faithfully. Your only task is to drift into sleep in that quiet satisfaction, to rest as the one who already possesses. There is no greater prayer than this silent knowing. You do not have to beg the infinite for what is already yours. You only have to claim it, feel it, and allow it. The universe is not testing you, it is serving you. It rearranges itself around your state of being. So tonight, be deliberate with the state you carry into sleep. Do not let habit or worry choose it for you. Choose joy, choose completion, choose peace. As you lie there, imagine the world tomorrow reflecting this peace back to you. See the small evidences, the smile from a stranger, the unexpected message, the moment of clarity. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations that the law is alive within you. And when morning comes, do not rush to see results. Continue to live from the end. Move through the day with quiet confidence, as though the outcome were inevitable, because it is. Reality will follow your lead. The world is not outside of you. It is within you, projected outward through the lens of your assumptions. If you can hold this truth, your life will transform not through effort, but through ease. You will stop trying to force change and begin allowing it. You will stop praying for things to happen and start resting in the knowing that they already have. This is the essence of conscious creation. Effortless, precise, inevitable. So as the night deepens and silence fills the room, remember, you are not waiting for your dream. Your dream is waiting for you to believe it. There comes a point in every journey of awakening when you realize that what you once called reality was never fixed at all. It was fluid, responding constantly to the story you told about yourself. What you see before you is not proof of truth, but evidence of belief. Life is a mirror, nothing more, nothing less. It shows you what you have accepted within. Change the story, and the reflection must change. That is not philosophy, it is law. Most people live imprisoned by their senses. They believe only what they can touch, measure, or prove. They let the outer dictate the inner, forgetting that the outer is only a shadow cast by their inner state. They wake each day repeating yesterday's emotions, reacting to the same patterns, and then wonder why nothing new arrives. But the few who learn to reverse this order, who begin to feel first and let the world follow, step into mastery. They no longer wait for evidence, they generate it. This reversal is the great secret. The moment you decide that feeling precedes form, your entire relationship with life changes. You stop chasing because you realize that the outer cannot give you what you have not already accepted inside. You stop struggling to fix circumstances because you understand that circumstances are symptoms. You begin to work at the level of cause, consciousness. When you grasp this, faith becomes logical. It is no longer an act of blind belief, but a practical understanding of how reality unfolds. You see that everything begins in the unseen, and that your inner state is the blueprint from which all experience is built. Your emotions, thoughts, and assumptions are not passive. They are creative forces. Every time you dwell in a feeling, you are shaping the invisible substance of your world. So the question becomes simple. What atmosphere are you sustaining within yourself? Do you carry the vibration of lack or of abundance? Do you wake expecting disappointment or expecting favor? The law cannot be fooled. It delivers not what you want, but what you are. You can say you desire success, but if you feel unworthy of it, the universe reads the feeling, not the words. It is not listening to what you say, it is responding to what you believe. This is why Neville taught that assumption, not effort, is the path to manifestation. Assumption means inhabiting the end as though it were already true, walking, speaking, and resting from that state. It is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing that your desire is already accomplished in imagination, and that imagination is the only reality. Once you feel that truth deeply, outer change becomes inevitable. Think of life as a play unfolding on a stage. The scenes are already written, the roles already available, waiting for an actor to step in and claim them. You can choose any role you wish, the successful one, the healed one, the loved one, but until you inhabit that identity inwardly, the outer scene cannot change. The audience will keep seeing the same act, the same dialogue, the same endings. The transformation happens when you decide to play a new part and feel its reality. When you assume the role inwardly, something subtle but extraordinary happens. the subconscious begins to accept this new identity as fact. It reorganizes everything around it, your habits, your reactions, even the opportunities that appear, to remain consistent with your new state. What seems like coincidence is simply the law adjusting itself to your assumption. You become magnetized to experiences that match who you have decided to be. This is why trying to change the outer world without changing self is exhausting. It's like rearranging the reflection in a mirror without touching the person standing before it. True change must begin within. Once the inner image shifts, the outer reflection must follow. But to live from this understanding requires vigilance. Not tension, not fear, but awareness. You must become the observer of your own thoughts. You must notice when your inner dialogue contradicts your chosen state. If you're imagining wealth but constantly affirming struggle, you're scattering your creative energy. If you're imagining love but dwelling on loneliness, you're watering two seeds at once. Choose one. Persist gently but consistently in that single vision. And persistence in this sense does not mean forcing yourself to believe something you don't feel. It means returning again and again to the feeling of fulfillment until it becomes familiar. The moment fulfillment feels natural, the work is done. Nature always expresses what is natural. This is where many give up, in the quiet middle, between the assumption and its manifestation. They plant the seed and then, impatient, dig it up to check if it's growing. But creation is invisible before it is visible. The law works in silence. You may not see progress immediately, but beneath the surface, reality is rearranging itself to accommodate your new vibration. Trust that process. It cannot fail. In those moments when doubt returns, remind yourself gently, this too is part of the unfolding. Doubt does not erase creation, it only delays your awareness of it. Return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Rest there. Even 2 minutes of genuine inner conviction outweigh hours of fearful thinking. The law responds to quality, not quantity. And while you live from this awareness, you begin to see signs, small confirmations that reality is softening around your assumption. A message arrives at just the right time. A stranger repeats a phrase you were thinking. A door opens that had been closed for years. These are not coincidences. They are reflections. They are the first ripples of a new reality forming. Eventually, the manifestation arrives so naturally that it feels inevitable. You may even forget that you once longed for it. That is how the law works. It transforms the extraordinary into the ordinary. What once felt impossible becomes a simple fact of life. And when that happens, you understand why Neville said that imagining creates reality. You will see it with your own eyes, not as theory, but as lived truth. From that moment on, life changes forever. You stop fearing uncertainty because you know that nothing is uncertain to imagination. You stop doubting your worth because you recognize yourself as the cause. You become calm, deliberate, centered. You no longer rush or beg, you create, and that is the real freedom, not to control the world, but to know that you no longer need to. The world is yourself pushed out. When you change self, the world willingly reshapes around you. There is no resistance, no conflict, no delay, only perfect correspondence. So, as you prepare to rest tonight, remember, your imagination is the womb of creation. Whatever you feel real before sleep will take form in your waking life. Let it be something worthy of you. Let it be beautiful. Let it be the next chapter of who you choose to become. Close your eyes and dwell there, not as one who hopes, but as one who remembers. There is a quiet power in the moments when you decide to stop searching. The instant you release the chase, something within you shifts. The tension softens, the mind clears, and suddenly life begins to move on its own. You notice how events seem to arrange themselves with effortless precision, as if the universe had been waiting for you to stop struggling. This is not luck, it is alignment. You have stopped pushing against the current and begun to move with it. For so long, you may have been taught that desire is something to be pursued, that you must earn what you want through effort, persistence, and sacrifice. But in truth, what you desire is not ahead of you. It exists within you, here and now, in potential form. The moment you feel it as real, it begins to unfold in the physical world. This understanding changes everything. Life ceases to be a battlefield and becomes a dialogue between your inner and outer worlds. You speak through feeling, the universe responds through form. When Neville said that the feeling is the secret, he was not pointing toward emotional intensity or blind optimism. He meant that the state of consciousness you occupy, the emotional tone that fills your inner world, is what determines what will unfold. Every feeling carries a frequency, and every frequency summons its match. To live consciously is to become deliberate about what you are allowing yourself to feel. Ask yourself gently and honestly, what emotion have you been rehearsing day after day? Is it doubt, fear, or impatience? Or is it gratitude, peace, and quiet confidence? Whatever you practice internally, you master externally. Your emotional habits become your circumstances. You cannot attract abundance while feeling lack. You cannot draw love while identifying with loneliness. The vibration of need will only recreate more needing. The universe does not hear the words, "I want this." It feels the energy of wanting and reflects it back as experiences that confirm the wanting. To break that cycle, you must shift from desire into fulfillment, from yearning into having. This does not mean ignoring your desires or pretending that everything is perfect. It means embodying the state of completion now, before the evidence appears. When you do this, you stop asking, "When will it happen?" and begin to say, "It already is." That subtle change of perspective transforms the whole rhythm of your life. Time begins to serve you instead of confining you. You stop living from the future and start creating from the present. The present moment is the only creative point there is. Every assumption, every feeling, every inner vision exists now. The future is nothing but the accumulation of present states. If you can master this instant, if you can choose your inner state consciously, then you hold the reins of your destiny. So how do you do this in practice? Begin by becoming aware of your reactions. Every reaction is a clue to your assumptions. When something in the outer world triggers you, pause. Instead of fighting the circumstance, ask, "What belief in me does this reveal?" You will find that life is not testing you. It is showing you what you still believe to be true. Each reaction is an opportunity to choose again, to replace an old assumption with a new one. This process is not about suppression. It is about awareness. Awareness is light, and the moment you bring light to a pattern, it begins to dissolve. You no longer fight your circumstances, you outgrow them. It is easy to get lost in the idea of manifestation as a technique, visualizing, affirming, scripting. But techniques are only reminders of the real work, which is the cultivation of identity. Who are you being right now? That is the only question that matters, because who you are being in imagination determines what you will experience in form. You can spend hours visualizing wealth, but if you continue to identify as someone who lacks, nothing will change. The state of lack will filter every image and every thought. But if you decide, quietly, sincerely, to inhabit the state of abundance, the world begins to rearrange itself. Opportunities appear not because you force them, but because they belong to that frequency. When you understand this, manifestation becomes less about getting and more about remembering. You are not trying to create something new. You are remembering what already exists within consciousness. You are selecting a version of yourself that already has what you desire and allowing that version to express itself. This is what Neville meant when he said that creation is finished. Every possibility already exists. Your task is to choose and persist in that choice. But to persist does not mean to struggle. It means to remain faithful in feeling, even when appearances contradict it. It means to remind yourself that the outer world is always catching up to the inner one. Faith is the bridge between assumption and manifestation. Without faith, you live as a victim of appearances. With faith, you become the author of them. Think of faith not as belief without evidence, but as confidence in an invisible process you already know to be true. When a gardener plants a seed, he does not check the soil every day in panic, wondering if the plant will grow. He knows the laws of nature and trusts them. In the same way, when you plant a desire in imagination, your only task is to nurture it with feeling and then rest. The soil of the subconscious never fails to yield what has been sown. This resting is not idleness. It is the highest form of action. It is the letting go of resistance, the surrender of control, the quiet acknowledgement that the unseen is already at work. This surrender is not weakness. It is power in its purest form. Because only when you stop grasping does the thing you want find room to come to you. And you will know that you have truly surrendered when peace replaces urgency, when the need to prove disappears, when you can think of your desire and feel calm instead of anxious. That peace is the surest sign that the seed has been accepted by the subconscious. Once peace arrives, manifestation is inevitable. So tonight, as you lie in bed and the world falls away, let yourself feel that peace. Do not search for the feeling. Let it come naturally, like a tide returning to shore. Feel the quiet certainty that what you desire already exists in the unseen. You do not need to command it, only to allow it. Breathe deeply, rest in that knowing, and drift towards sleep as one who has already received. Because you have. In imagination it is done. And in time, the outer world will rise to meet what you have accepted within. This is not wishful thinking, it is law. The law that turns the invisible into the visible, the unseen into the seen, the imagined into the real. Every night offers you this same invitation to close your eyes, enter the silence, and remember your power. The world you wake to will always reflect the world you fell asleep believing in. There is a kind of calm that comes only when you finally understand that nothing outside of you has real power. The job, the person, the circumstance, the future, all of it is fluid, shifting, secondary. The true cause of everything you experience lies within you. At first, this realization feels overwhelming. It demands that you take full responsibility for your life. But then, slowly, it becomes the most liberating truth you could ever discover. Because if the cause is within, the power to change it is there too. When you live from this understanding, you begin to move differently through the world. You no longer react with panic when things go wrong, because you see the outer event for what it is, an echo of an old belief, a reflection of a past assumption. You know it's temporary, already dissolving as you hold your new state. You stop needing to fight circumstances, and that freedom creates space for miracles. This is the essence of inner mastery, learning to hold your center when the outer world sways. You are not pretending that challenges don't exist. You are choosing not to give them authority. You are remembering that appearances are only projections of inner states. When you stop identifying with the projection and instead return to the state you choose, love, abundance, peace, the projection must change. Every moment offers this choice, to react from memory or to respond from imagination. Most people live in reaction. They see something unwanted and their emotions follow automatically. But the conscious creator pauses. They recognize that emotion is the creative force and decide carefully how to use it. They ask, what would I feel if things were already as I wish them to be? And they step into that feeling immediately, regardless of appearances. This quiet act, repeated often, reshapes destiny. It takes courage to live this way, because the senses will try to pull you back into old stories. The outer world will test your conviction, whispering that nothing is changing. But remember, the physical world is slow to catch up. It is like the echo of a sound. The echo can only follow the voice. Keep your inner voice steady, and the echo will align. You must learn to trust the invisible more than the visible. The visible is always late. The invisible, your state, your assumption, is always first. That is where creation begins. The moment you feel your desire fulfilled, a shift occurs in consciousness. That shift is the creation. What follows is only the unfolding, the inevitable translation of inner cause into outer effect. The difficulty for many lies in the waiting. They assume that waiting means nothing is happening. But waiting is not empty. Waiting is gestation. When a seed is planted, the gardener cannot see the roots forming, yet he knows the process is alive beneath the surface. The unseen work is the most essential part. In the same way, when you hold the feeling of fulfillment, Your reality begins rearranging itself in silence. You may not see the movement yet, but it has already begun. Faith, then, is the ability to rest while the unseen is taking shape. It is not a desperate hoping, but a quiet knowing. It says, "I have already received." When you reach that state, impatience dissolves, because you no longer measure time by appearances. You start to feel that the thing you desire is already part of your world, invisible perhaps, but inevitable. And once you reach that inner stability, the outer begins to mirror it in ways so seamless you could almost miss them. A conversation shifts, a decision is made, something that seemed impossible suddenly falls into place. These are not accidents, they are the natural consequences of your assumption. The universe is never random, it is responsive. It moves according to your inner conviction with mathematical precision. If you ever doubt this, look back at your life honestly. Notice how the times when you were certain of something, good or bad, it eventually came to pass. Certainty is magnetic. Whatever you deeply accept as true must take form. That is why awareness is everything. Awareness is the sculptor, and feeling is the tool. Together, they carve your world. But awareness without discipline easily drifts. You must train it gently, like a wild horse learning to trust its rider. The mind loves to wander into fear, into memory, into stories that contradict your intention. When you catch it doing so, do not resist or scold yourself. Simply return. Return to the state that you have chosen. Feel again the emotion of fulfillment, even if it's faint. Each return strengthens the pattern until it becomes automatic. Eventually, your mind will rest there without effort, and your world will follow. This is how transformation truly happens, not through grand gestures or sudden miracles, but through quiet consistency. Night after night, moment after moment, you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and without knowing exactly how, life begins to conform to it. The people you meet, the choices you make, even your timing, all begin to align. It feels as though the universe conspires in your favor, but really, it is only mirroring the new frequency you are living in. Once you understand this, peace becomes your natural state. You stop rushing to fix everything because you trust that the unseen is already handling it. You begin to move through life with a softness that others can feel but not explain. You become magnetic, not because you are trying to attract, but because you are aligned. People sense the calm certainty in you, and they are drawn to it. The world bends toward your confidence, and in that calm, a deeper truth reveals itself. Manifestation was never about acquiring things. It was about remembering your creative power. Every desire you fulfill becomes proof of who you really are. Consciousness itself, infinite and unbounded, expressing through human form. Once you taste this, the outer results lose their urgency. You still enjoy them, but you no longer depend on them for validation. The true joy lies in the process, in the mastery of consciousness. This is the quiet revolution Neville spoke of, not the changing of circumstances, but the awakening of the self that creates them. When you awaken, you no longer see yourself as a small person trying to survive in a vast universe. You realize that the universe lives within you, moving as your own awareness. You are not a fragment. You are the whole expressing in focus. So tonight, as the light fades and silence settles around you, return once more to that sacred space within. Close your eyes and remember, the world outside is your mirror. You do not need to fight the reflection, only to change the image you hold inside. Feel yourself already living the life you desire. See the details, hear the sounds, sense the ease of it. Let it be real, not as a wish, but as a memory. And when that feeling becomes natural, let go. Drift into sleep knowing that the unseen is already at work. The law is faithful. The harvest always matches the seed. Rest not as one who hopes, but as one who knows. For in the silence of your imagination, creation is complete. There comes a moment in your journey, quiet, almost imperceptible, when you stop asking if things will happen and begin to live as though they already have. It is not a forced optimism, nor a denial of what is. It's a shift so deep that it changes the way you breathe, the way you think, the way you walk through the world. You stop waiting for proof because proof has become irrelevant. The desire you once chased is now a part of you, invisible but certain, as natural as your heartbeat. This is the turning point. It is the moment when imagination stops being an escape and becomes your reality's architect. You are no longer a dreamer, hoping that life will be kind. You are a creator, quietly shaping existence from within. The world still looks the same for a while, the same streets, the same faces, the same routine. But something in the air has changed. It feels softer, more malleable, as though the boundaries of reality are no longer solid but fluid, responding to your awareness. The great paradox of creation is that nothing truly new is created. Everything you will ever desire already exists, waiting for you to align with it. The version of yourself who has already achieved what you long for is alive somewhere within the infinite field of consciousness. The act of manifestation is not summoning it from nothing. It is merging with it, remembering it, stepping into its skin until there is no difference between who you were and who you have become. But this merging requires honesty. You cannot become the new self while secretly clinging to the old. You cannot dwell in fulfillment while feeding the memory of lack. The subconscious is not fooled by words. It reads vibration, and vibration is truth. You must be willing to release every story that contradicts the new identity you wish to embody. That is the real surrender. Not to an external force, but to your own higher knowing. So you begin to let go. One by one, you drop the habits of the old self. You stop speaking about your life as if it were happening to you, and begin to speak as if it were happening through you. You stop analyzing every delay and instead rest in the certainty that divine order is unfolding perfectly. You stop needing to know when, because you have finally understood that when is irrelevant. Time bends around conviction. At first, this new state feels delicate, like a flame you must protect from the wind. You move carefully, mindful not to let doubt snuff it out. But with each day you dwell in it, the flame grows steadier. It begins to light everything you touch. People notice it before you speak, that quiet confidence, that ease that cannot be faked. You no longer chase opportunities, they seem to find you. You no longer seek validation. Life mirrors it back without effort. This is the rhythm of alignment. And yet even in this grace there are moments when the old self tries to return. The mind, accustomed to struggle, whispers, "What if it doesn't work this time? What if nothing changes?" When those thoughts arise, do not resist them. Meet them with the calm authority of someone who knows better. Remind yourself gently, it has already changed. The shift happened the moment I accepted it within, because that is the essence of faith, not blind hope, but inner recognition. Faith is remembering that the unseen is the foundation of the seen. It is the quiet knowing that what you feel real must, by law, take shape. The world may take time to catch up, but its delay is only apparent. The seed is already sprouting beneath the soil. To live from this state is to walk with grace. You stop demanding from life and start communing with it. You realize that creation is not a transaction. It is a relationship. Every thought, every emotion, every assumption is a conversation with the universe. When you think I am loved, life whispers back, yes you are. When you think I am abundant, doors open where there were once walls. And when you fall into fear, life echoes that too, not as punishment but as reflection, an invitation to choose again. So you choose. Again and again, you return to the feeling of fulfillment. You treat it like home. You stop looking for signs, because the feeling itself becomes the sign. You stop asking for reassurance, because the calm in your chest is reassurance enough. The old need for proof dissolves in the warmth of certainty. This is the stage of quiet creation, where nothing appears to be happening, yet everything is. Where faith no longer feels like effort, but like breathing. Where you realize that manifestation is not a technique, but a way of being. You are no longer doing to get something. You are being the one who already has it. And the world, obedient to that being, begins to shift with quiet inevitability. Look closely and you will see it. The friend who once doubted you now speaks words that confirm your vision. The opportunity you thought was lost returns in a better form. The sense of struggle fades, replaced by flow. These are not miracles in the sense of defying nature. They are nature, the natural consequence of alignment between inner and outer reality. You may begin to notice that you no longer care about the manifestation as much as you once did. The desire that once consumed you becomes gentle, almost secondary. You still welcome it, but your happiness no longer depends on it. You have already found what you were truly seeking, not the thing itself, but the state it represented. You have discovered the joy that precedes evidence, the peace that creates prosperity, the love that gives birth to more love. This is the great irony. When you stop needing the outer to complete you, it rushes in to reflect your completeness. The universe cannot give wholeness to one who believes themselves broken, but it will overflow with blessings for the one who already feels whole. The law is simple, not cruel, not capricious, simply precise. You receive not what you want, but what you are. So who are you now? Not in words, but in vibration. Not in appearance, but in truth. Are you still the one waiting, or have you become the one who knows? Because once you choose the latter, there is nothing left to prove. You walk in quiet certainty, and life responds in kind. When you live this way, even challenges change meaning. They stop being signs of failure and become signals of transformation. Every delay becomes refinement. Every obstacle becomes instruction. You realize that the universe is not testing you. It is teaching you to trust. It is showing you how to remain anchored in your chosen state, regardless of appearances. That is the real mastery. And one evening, perhaps without realizing it, you will look around and see the evidence of your faith. The world that once felt rigid has softened. The relationships that once felt strained have healed. The dream that once seemed distant has become ordinary reality. You will smile, not with surprise, but with recognition. Of course it happened. It could not have been otherwise. That is the beauty of living from the end. The moment you truly assume it, the journey itself becomes sacred. Every step, every breath, every silent night becomes an act of creation. You stop waiting for your life to begin because you understand it already has. So tonight, as you close your eyes, let yourself rest, not as a seeker, but as a knower. Let the feeling of completion wrap around you like warmth. You have nothing left to chase, nothing left to prove. The unseen is already at work, shaping the visible in perfect timing. Trust that. Trust yourself, and drift into sleep as the one who already is. There comes a stage, subtle but unmistakable, when you begin to sense that the universe is not something happening to you, but something happening through you. Every coincidence, every delay, every closed door that once frustrated you begins to make sense. You realize that nothing has ever been against you. It has only ever been guiding you toward alignment, toward remembrance. Life, you discover, has always been a mirror, reflecting your innermost state, patiently waiting for you to notice. You start to see the perfection hidden beneath what once felt like chaos. The missed opportunities that broke your heart reveal themselves as detours toward greater things. The people who left were never punishment. They were clearing space for what was meant to stay. The moments you called failure were not endings, but invitations to return to yourself. There is an intelligence moving through your life so vast, so exact, that it needs no interference. When you finally stop trying to control it, it begins to reveal its order. This realization changes the way you meet the world. You stop reacting from fear and start responding from awareness. You begin to ask a different question. Not, why is this happening to me? But, what is this showing me about who I am being? That single shift transforms every experience. You move from victimhood to authorship, from confusion to clarity. The law of assumption is not merely about attracting things. It is about becoming the kind of person for whom those things are natural. The world does not change because you beg it to. It changes because you have changed. When your state shifts, your world must reorganize itself to stay consistent with that new identity. This is not poetic philosophy, it is psychological precision. If you wake each morning identifying as the one who lacks, the world will comply. It will confirm your belief through events, through words, through the smallest details. But the moment you step into the self who already is, the one who already possesses, already knows, already lives from completion, you alter the blueprint. Life rushes to meet you at your new frequency. It is not personal, it is law. And yet, this transformation is rarely sudden. The old self does not vanish overnight. It lingers in your habits, your tone of voice, your reactions to others. It's easy to believe that because you still feel echoes of the past, nothing has changed. But echoes are harmless. They have no power except the attention you give them. The key is to stop feeding the old identity. Each time you choose to respond from the new self, you strengthen it. Each time you remember that you are the cause, not the effect, you dissolve another layer of illusion. The truth is simple. Consciousness never stops creating. Even when you doubt, you are still creating. Even when you say, "I can't," you are affirming a world that agrees with you. So the question is not whether you are creating, but what you are creating. Once you understand this, the only logical thing to do is to take back authorship. Creation begins with inner speech. The words you whisper to yourself in the privacy of your own mind are spells, shaping your world in real time. If you want to know what you truly believe, listen to your inner dialogue. What are you rehearsing? Are you speaking as the one who has, or the one who waits? The universe does not distinguish between spoken words and silent ones. It responds to the emotional charge beneath them. Change your inner conversation, and your entire reality will shift to match it. This is why discipline of thought is sacred. It is not about suppressing emotion, but about directing it. You cannot stop a thought from arising, but you can decide which thoughts deserve your energy. Let doubt appear, but do not feed it. Let fear visit, but do not make it a home. Each time you turn your attention back to the feeling of fulfillment, you reclaim your creative authority. And when you persist in this, quietly, steadily, the outer world begins to yield. Sometimes the shift is subtle, like the air before a storm. Other times it is unmistakable. A door opens, a call comes, a long-awaited change unfolds in perfect rhythm. But no matter how it happens, one truth remains constant. You did not make it happen through force. You allowed it by aligning with it. The greatest misunderstanding about manifestation is the belief that effort creates results. Effort belongs to the world of action. Creation belongs to the world of being. You act naturally from what you believe yourself to be. When you change that belief, your actions and their results change automatically. It is effortless, not because nothing is required, but because the doing flows from a deeper knowing. Think of how easily a confident person moves through the world. They do not have to remind themselves to act confidently. Their self-image does the work for them. So it is with every desire. The state you occupy determines the behavior that follows, and the behavior confirms the state. This is why Neville taught, "Be still and know that you are." To know is to rest. To rest is to create without resistance. Stillness is the true art of manifestation. It is not the absence of movement, but the presence of trust. It is saying, "I do not need to prove this true because I already know it is." From that stillness you move not out of fear, but out of inspiration. Every action becomes intuitive, timely, and charged with grace. When you live this way, you begin to notice how naturally life cooperates with you. Delays turn into divine timing. Mistakes turn into redirections. Even difficulties carry hidden blessings. You stop fighting what is and start flowing with what is becoming. And through it all, you realize that the universe was never testing you. It was teaching you how to remember your own creative nature. This remembrance becomes your quiet strength. You no longer rush to fix every problem because you trust that your inner world is already resolving it. You no longer seek validation from others because your sense of worth no longer depends on outcomes. You become grounded, centered, unshakable. Not because nothing can touch you, but because you have stopped confusing appearances with truth. And this peace, this deep, unwavering peace, is the true goal of every desire. The house, the relationship, the success, all of it was only ever a symbol of that inner fulfillment. When you feel complete before anything changes, you collapse the illusion of waiting. What you wanted becomes unnecessary, and paradoxically, that is when it arrives. The mature creator understands this. They no longer manifest out of lack, but out of expression. They no longer use imagination to escape life, but to enhance it. They are no longer ruled by the seen, because they have learned to trust the unseen. So tonight, as you prepare to rest, take a moment to acknowledge how far you've come. The one who began this journey was searching for answers. The one who lies here now has found them within. You have learned that you are not at the mercy of circumstance. You are the cause of it. You have learned that imagination is not fantasy. It is divine memory. And you have learned that faith is not waiting, it is knowing. Let that knowing carry you into sleep. Feel the quiet strength of someone who no longer questions their power. The unseen is moving, always aligning, arranging, bringing forth the perfect reflection of who you have become. There is nothing left to fix, nothing left to prove, only this: to rest in the awareness that it is already done. There comes a quiet depth in this path, a moment when you no longer chase after truth, but begin to live inside it. You stop needing reassurance from signs, from outcomes, from other people's approval. You've walked far enough through the valley of uncertainty to know that everything outside of you is secondary. The real world, the one that moves mountains and opens doors, exists in the stillness behind your eyes. And once you feel that truth, even for a moment, there's no going back. At first, this realization unsettles you. It asks you to abandon the habits that once gave you comfort, the analyzing, the doubting, the measuring of progress. It asks for faith without visible reason, trust without proof. But slowly, that surrender becomes liberation. You discover that when you stop demanding from life, life starts responding with generosity. What you once tried to control begins to unfold naturally, as though the whole universe had simply been waiting for you to step aside. Everything starts to feel different. The small details of your day, the sound of rain, the light on your hands, the rhythm of your breath, begin to feel significant, sacred even. You realize that creation isn't confined to the big moments of manifestation. It happens in every heartbeat, every thought you nurture, every emotion you allow, every assumption you hold shapes the atmosphere of your existence. The outer world is only a reflection of that inner climate. And then one day it clicks. You understand what Neville meant when he said that the world is yourself pushed out. It isn't metaphorical, it's literal. Every conversation, every coincidence, every delay is an extension of your consciousness. Life is not random, it's precise, echoing your dominant assumptions with mathematical accuracy. You begin to see it everywhere. The words that leave your lips return to you in the mouths of others. The moods you entertain paint the world in matching colors. When you feel love, the world mirrors it back in kindness. When you feel doubt, it answers with confusion. This isn't punishment or reward, it's law, the divine symmetry between inner and outer. And the more you observe it, the more you respect its perfection. You stop trying to manipulate outcomes because you finally understand that everything is unfolding in exact correspondence with who you are being. The task is not to fix the mirror, but to master the reflection. The moment you accept this, power returns to you. You no longer beg life for change. You direct it by changing yourself. Not through force, not through restless affirmations or desperate wishing, but through quiet, deliberate assumption. You become selective about what you allow into your mind, because you know that every thought is a seed, and every seed must bloom. You begin to treat your imagination as sacred ground. You refuse to entertain worry, not because you're avoiding reality, but because you're shaping it. You replace the old language of fear. What if it doesn't work? What if I fail? With a new language of certainty. It already is. It always was. It cannot fail. You realize that imagination is not pretending. It is preparation. the rehearsal of reality before it becomes visible. And so your relationship with time begins to change. You stop thinking in terms of waiting and start thinking in terms of unfolding. You understand that what you have assumed internally is not on its way. It's already here, simply invisible to the senses for the moment. Time is only the space between inner acceptance and outer awareness. When you rest in that acceptance, impatience disappears. You stop checking for results because the knowing itself is the result. From this state, everything you do carries a different energy. Your actions are no longer desperate attempts to create outcomes. They become natural expressions of who you are. You speak differently, move differently, choose differently, not because you are trying to convince anyone, but because your inner conviction has already changed. The world begins to mirror this shift with precision. Opportunities appear, relationships evolve, doors open that logic alone could never explain. But perhaps the most remarkable transformation happens inside. You find peace, not the fragile peace that depends on circumstances, but the kind that remains untouched by them. You realize that the purpose of manifestation was never to prove the power of your mind, but to remind you of the power of your being. The things you once wanted lose their urgency because you've discovered something deeper, the joy of alignment itself. And yet, the outer blessings still come. They always do. The wealth, the love, the recognition, the health, they arrive not as prizes, but as reflections of your inner harmony. You receive them with gratitude, but without attachment. You know that nothing in the outer world could add or subtract from who you already are. You've stopped needing reality to confirm your worth. You simply live as one who knows. From this space of knowing, even challenges look different. You begin to see them as instruments, finely tuned to reveal your remaining shadows. A moment of doubt, a delay, a sudden loss, these no longer throw you into panic. You meet them with quiet understanding, asking, "What is this showing me about the state I'm holding?" And instantly you reclaim your authorship. You are never powerless unless you believe you are. There's a dignity in this kind of awareness. It gives you a calm confidence that others can feel but not explain. You no longer rush, you no longer justify, you no longer apologize for your certainty. You have stopped living by effort and started living by faith. Not blind faith, but experienced faith, tested and proven. You have seen the invisible become visible too many times to ever doubt again. And when you live from this place long enough, creation becomes effortless. You don't manifest anymore, you simply express. You imagine something, feel it real, and then let it go, knowing that the law is perfect. You live as though everything you desire has already been granted, because at the level of consciousness, it has. You've moved beyond belief into being. Now you understand why Neville spoke so often about rest, not as sleep, but as a posture of the soul. True rest is knowing that nothing is missing, nothing is broken, nothing needs fixing. Rest is the recognition that creation is finished, that the only work left is to assume your place within it. And in that rest, paradoxically, everything begins to move. The more still you are within, the faster life rearranges around you. So tonight, as you lie in bed and the world quiets, allow yourself to rest in this awareness. Feel the deep ease of someone who no longer needs to make anything happen. You have already spoken your command through imagination. You have already felt it real. The law has already begun its silent, flawless work. You don't need to see it to believe it. You only need to rest in the knowing that it is. The unseen has never failed to become the seen, and it won't begin now. Let that truth cradle you as you drift into sleep. The sleep of the fulfilled, the peaceful, the creator who finally understands that everything they once sought was always within them. And when morning comes, you will rise differently. The world will look the same, yet everything will feel lighter, clearer, more alive. Because you are no longer living to create reality, you are living as reality itself.